So it's the evening before Cadel's. Greipel wasn't meant to be doing this race, but he is now because it's one he can win. So we're all in for him tomorrow. The women's race was today and it looked biblical. The amount of times I've seen it, it's been biblically wet, windy and horrible for the women and then glorious sunshine for the men, but I saw Anna Henderson was up there, which is great. Yeah, just we're looking forward to tomorrow. We do a big loop and then we do a little loop around Geelong. Geelong I have mixed memories about. I lost a world championship here to a rolled tub. I was in the mix for a medal, well and truly in the mix for a medal at the halfway mark, clipped a tyre on a pedal and rear wheel popped in the air, and then when it landed the tub popped off and that was game over because I didn't have a spare TT bike when I was an under 23. So I'm not, that's 10 years ago. I'm not still bitter about it at all, in the slightest, but I can show you the exact corner and the exact, all the data, everything, and it's not like I don't think about it at all still. It doesn't keep me up at night, or I don't tell anyone that wants to hear that in Geelong I lost the world title potentially by a rolled tub. It's not an issue at all anymore. Anyway, massage time. I'm here with Craig, who, not to be confused with a psychopath or a sociopath, is an osteopath. And normally, when he's not working for Israel Startup Nation, works out of Adelaide for Thrive Healthcare. And what are we doing with me today?
We'll just tie up some loose ends and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But this one's still a little bit tight. It's tighter than the right, tighter than the left.
Just those hamstrings,
yeah.
QLs,
Yep.
calves,
Yep.
legs.
Yep.
Great.
I feel like you are a little bit tighter.
Probably from the high saddle as well. It's 10:30. Time to go to bed. I might watch some Peaky Blinders just before sleeping. Not a full episode. Top tip for Netflix: don't finish an episode. Stop an episode halfway through, because then there's no cliffhanger. Whereas if you stop at the end of an episode, there's a big old cliffhanger. You got to start the next one. Next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. You're 4 episodes deep into a series. Anyway, good night.
I can tell you this: he won't sell anybody out to buy his future, and that, my friends, is called integrity.
Aims for the race, help Andre win. Yes, I know. James aims for the race, help Andre win. Yeah. Alex aims for the race,
yeah, help
Andre win. Andre, aim for the race.
Try to drop the teammates.
I heard help Andre win.
Being best out of the team.
My aim for the race is also to help Andre win, and I forgot my camera, so I'm doing this on phone. So, sorry. Right, chamois cream's been applied. We're not 5-10 minutes from the start, so see you later. I just got back to the hotel. That was a pretty tough day. There were crosswinds, but ultimately they didn't do anything. I think they just made everyone a bit more tired coming into the final. It split Ineos and ourselves actually. Took it on pretty much when the flag dropped. Bunch split. We heard Viviani hadn't made the front split, so we kept it on. But then it turned. When you've got you've still got 160k to go. There's not many teams reluctant to go absolutely hammer and tongs. So as soon as we started turning into headwinds, momentum was just lost and everything came back together. But we were all there, which was real good.
And there's a little bit of hip and shoulder with riders fighting for position at the front of the peloton.
And I think the bunch split in half, maybe, or 2/3 in the front, 1/3 in the back. So the fact that all of Israel Startup Nation was there was good. And then, then there was another big crosswind explosion. I was a little further back than I should have been, but I had the legs to move up and made front split there as well, which was pleasant. I was happy with that. And then we turned into a tailwind, and I think the gaps just weren't quite big enough for then that gap to be maintained, and it all came back together, and then we hit the finishing circuit.
Making their way through the feed zone. They've gone through the finish line for the first time. 3 laps remaining.
We went really hard up the first climb, and I thought, oh. And then we didn't go quite so hard second and third time up the climbs. And then the last time up, there was brakes flying off the front, and I was that close to having it. We haven't really touched that side of things in training. Not that I'm making excuses, but I'm very good at cycling, and the thing that I'm next best at is making excuses for why on some days I'm not very good at cycling. So today's excuse is that it's just not something we've trained because it's still January. Yeah, I'm making excuses. It was all right. It was like today was just all right. Shout out to the team, because Cadel, the other Alex Cadel went away. Piccoli went away with a proper group with Simon Yates and whatnot. So that's good. So yeah, all is well. Everything at the moment I think is in the right place. You'll probably want to hear some numbers from today. I can give you some numbers from today. It was the 305 TSS, so a bit punchy. TSS is like a gauge of how hard a race was, and the highest TSS I've ever heard of was Tony Martin, unsurprisingly, in a stage of the Giro, a 240k stage, clocked 498 TSS. Now people that do like 12 and 24 hour time trials will clock more just because of time spent on the bike, but to accumulate 498 TSS in 6 hours, for those of you that know how to calculate that, it is every bit as mind-blowing as you can imagine. So today we're just loading it up on Training Peaks. All the bike riders must have returned to the hotel, so the internet's just slowed right down. Normalised power of 330, average power of 260, maximum power of 1258. That's pretty good for me, not for a sprinter. Average heart rate of 136, average cadence of 89, and we did at some point 10 minutes at 417 watts. That was the second crosswind section, so that's punchy. And 5 minutes at 433, 2 minutes at 500. So it's a hard day. Anyway, back to what we're doing next. Next we are going to somewhere else in the Victoria region, and we're going to ride Herald Sun Tour. Andre and Rick go back to Europe, and we draft in a Canadian fella from the Conti team to help us in Sun Tour. Or to help us, I mean, he might be our GC guy, who knows. And then I go back to Europe to do some testing, to do some training, hopefully to do some stuff on a TT bike, because it's been a while now and I want to get on a Factor TT bike. Anyway, I'm going to get showered, I'm going to clean up, and I'm going to sort my bomb side of the room out. Catch you later. Two things happened today which were contrasting. One was on the penultimate lap, I was sat next to Lucas Wisanowski, and Luke Rowe was on my right, and I think they made an Alex Dowsett sandwich, which was very frightening for a split second. My handlebars were like, I was like, "Aah!" Swore quite loudly. It was kind of like nobody's fault. It was just Lucas drifted right, Luke drifted left. Yeah, Luke was like, sorry? I was like, I don't think you need to apologise, but thanks. And Lucas was like, and all was well. The other thing, so, and I mentioned before, like, we're having to earn our respect here, and it reminds me actually of when I was with Trek Livestrong, an under-23 team. We went to Tour of Qatar. There's a big we didn't really belong there. We were there because Axel Merckx was our director and Eddie Merckx owned the race, so we got a surprise invite. If you imagine a World Tour race with an under-23 team there, that was us. And the teams that were nicest to us were the big teams and the big riders. So like Tom Boone and Pipo Pozzato he was lovely to us. And the teams that were arseholes to us With the small teams, the Pro Conti ones, Top Sport, the guy in Top Sport, I don't even know his name, who just laughed at me for saying something on the radio. Like, you never forget something like that. He's still in Top Sport, and I don't give him any space at all when I see him. I don't think he knows it's me, and I don't care. But that stuff stays with you. And I think it's like an insecurity thing, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, we're a small team, and we're having to earn our respect in the World Tour. And I think some teams still see us as a Pro Conti team, which is fine. Like, I get it. What was amusing, I had a few run-ins in Tour Down Under with one particular guy, and he really got on my tits. And today, the same. Just, I don't know if you just sometimes in races you just end up in the same place at the same time with the same guy. I had it a couple of years ago in Movistar with Michael Shah, who's to all intents and purposes a really nice guy, but we just always seem to be doing the same job at the same time. And we banged handlebars for about the umpteenth time, and he's like, "Why is it always you?" And I was like, "Mate, I can say exactly the same. This is racing." Anyway, so this guy today, I had a few run-ins. I spoke to another couple of people about him, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he's not a very nice person," in much worse words than that. That begins with C, ends with T, and rhymes with Karen Hunt. And today his chain came off on a climb, and if it's low stress, like the Peloton's a nice place, someone will give you a push. They'll just give you a push to help you get that chain back on from whatever team, and no one gave this guy a push, not one person. I think that says it all. So if you know who you are, don't be an arsehole.